We're live from New Delhi, watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's free trade deal with the European Free Trade Association takes effect from today. Deal signed last year promises $100 billion investment over 15 years, projected to create 1 million jobs in India. US braces for government shutdown at 400 GMT deadline after senators failed to pass last-minute funding bill. Trump warns Democrats of irreversible actions.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever.
In Philippines, at least 22 people killed, 37 injured in a powerful 6.9 magnitude earthquake. Search and rescue operation underway amid power outages and damaged buildings. And India kicks off the Women's World Cup campaign with a 59-run victory over Sri Lanka in a rain-shortened match in Guwahati. And on to the details now. Today marks a new chapter in India's diplomacy. The much-awaited free trade agreement between India and the four-nation European bloc, EFTA, has come into force. Now, the deal, signed last year, promises major investment, job creation and greater market access. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman has more details.
The Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, TIPA, with the European Free Trade Associations is a landmark in India's global outreach. Signed on March 10, 2024, it comes into effect after 16 years and 21 rounds of negotiations. At its core is US dollars 100 billion investment pledge over 15 years, projected to create over 1 million jobs in India. The pact opens new opportunities for Indian farmer, gems and jewelry, textiles, machinery, and IT services.
Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement with the EFTA countries is a comprehensive agreement which covers not just trade in goods and services, but also intellectual property rights, competition, and also government procurement. EFTA countries are important trade and economic partners of India. They had invested about 12 billion in the Indian market, and Norway's pension fund also separately invested about 25 billion in the Indian market. Since these countries are also very much part of the European Economic Area, so overall, this is an important agreement for both for the European countries and also for India.
To safeguard domestic interests, India has kept dairy, farm products, and gold outside the purview of this agreement, but Indian exporters will gain new tariff advantages in EFTA markets.
Out of these four countries, Switzerland, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, Switzerland is the biggest trading partner to India among those four, and I think it will definitely benefit Indians and the Swiss because it will ease imports of certain goods. In general, I think this agreement is probably, especially if you look at the other free trade agreement with the European Union, it's of psychological importance because it's good that these four countries now managed to make a deal because we all know that for a very long time India and the EU were not able to come to a conclusion.
The agreement is also historic. It includes a sustainability clause, binding both sides to uphold labor rights and environmental standards. Bilateral trade is now projected to rise to US dollars 55 to 60 billion annually. With new tariff schedules in place, ports and airports are fast-tracking consignments, giving exporters an early edge under the new regime.
The implementation of free trade agreement between India and four European nations, Norway, Switzerland, Iceland and Liechtenstein, sets a template how cooperation can be established between countries who think alike and set the ball rolling for other countries too. It can be a model for cooperation. Akhilesh Suman for DD India in Delhi.
Well, the US government is on the brink of shutdown after the last-ditch Senate vote failed. Now, the 55 to 45 vote in the Senate falling short of the 60 votes needed to advance the legislation has ensured that U.S. government agencies will have to discontinue all but essential activities such as law enforcement. Also, the White House Office of Management and Budget has issued a memorandum confirming that the government will indeed shut down at Wednesday midnight and blamed Democrats for the impasse. Now, this is America's 15th government shutdown since 1981. According to a White House memo, the affected agencies should now execute their plans for an orderly shutdown. However, it is unclear how long Democrats will maintain their untenable posture, making the duration of the shutdown difficult to predict. Regardless, the employees should report to work for their next regularly scheduled tour of duty to undertake orderly shutdown activities. And hours ago, when asked about the potential government shutdown, U.S. President Trump told journalists that it's not inevitable, but it does seem likely to happen. He also threatened mass irreversible firings of federal workers if a shutdown happens. He added that he and Republicans are the last ones who want a government shutdown. Trump said Democrats were taking a risk in their negotiations over the shutdown, adding that the Trump administration can cut the benefits it pays out.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested, so the last person that wants it shut down is us now. With that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse.
Well, a potential U.S. government shutdown threatens to disrupt critical federal services and exacerbate existing challenges in recruiting and retaining federal employees. Now, President of the National Federation of Federal Employees, Randy Irwin, criticized the administration's treatment of federal employees, citing intimidation, terminations, and political interference as factors undermining morale and recruitment.
Well, you know, the American people really benefit from having a talented, highly qualified federal workforce. It already is a tremendous challenge to be able to recruit and retain the necessary talent that we need to do all the important work. Federal employees make 25% less than people in the private sector doing the exact same jobs, which puts the federal government at a real disadvantage.
Well, the looming shutdown would furlough hundreds of thousands of federal workers deemed non-essential and halt operations across numerous agencies, including the Internal Revenue Service, the Pentagon, and federal courts. Generally, in a shutdown, essential workers continue as normal, some without pay, but government employees deemed non-essential are temporarily put on unpaid leave. Also, the shutdown would disrupt the publication of key U.S. economic data, including employment and GDP reports, and affect agencies responsible for approving small business loans and disaster recovery funding. Also, the essential services such as social security payments, air traffic control, and border security would continue, although many workers would do so without pay. National Federation of Federal Employees warned of long-term repercussions for the civil service also.
Somebody knows what your politics are. There are political witch hunts happening in this government that never happened before. And so they're not, when that happens, they're not serving the American people, they're serving their political interests or what have you. And, it's going to be hard to convince a whole generation of people that would want to work for the American people. We're going to be over 300,000 federal employees will have been lost after today since the start of this Trump administration. And we don't know what our functionality of government looks like with that level of staff.
US President Donald Trump on Tuesday announced his administration had reached a deal with Harvard University after months of negotiations and that the school will pay $500 million. Trump told reporters in the White House that a deal with Harvard was imminent, even as his administration announced a new effort to squeeze the university's finances.
Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who's so fantastic, and I guess we reached a deal with Harvard today, so we'll see how that, all you have to do is paper it, right, Linda? Just
yes, sir.
Paper it out. That'll be great, though. It's going to have to do with something that's very important to everybody.
Well, meanwhile, in a latest move in the White House's multi-pronged assault on Harvard, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced on Monday that it was referring the university for disbarment, laying the path for the administration to block Harvard from receiving any future federal grants or contracts. Also, Harvard has 20 days from the date of the announcement to notify the department whether it will exercise its right to a hearing. Harvard has not confirmed the settlement, and it remains unclear whether the terms outlined by the president match any agreement the university has considered. And at least 22 people have been killed following a powerful 6.9 magnitude earthquake in the Philippines, marking one of the country's most devastating disasters this year. Now, the earthquake that struck off the coast of Cebu City in the Philippines' central Visayas region led to power outages and damaged buildings in the region. Earthquake monitoring agencies had pegged the depth of the quake at around 10 kilometers and recorded multiple aftershocks, the strongest having a magnitude of 6. Another monitoring agency said there was no tsunami threat following the quake. Search and rescue operation underway amid power outages and damaged buildings. The Philippines lies in the Pacific Ring of Fire, where volcanic activity and earthquakes are very common. And Ukrainian President Zelensky said the situation at the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station had become critical, with Russians shelling preventing restoration of a power line needed to cool the reactors and prevent a meltdown. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency is engaging with both sides of the military conflict to restore off-site power to Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as soon as possible, and confirmed there was no immediate danger as long as diesel generators remained in operation, providing emergency power for the facility. Also, Zelensky said one of the diesel generators providing emergency power was no longer working 7 days after external power lines went down. Europe's largest with 6 reactors, Zaporizhzhia plant, was seized by Russian troops in the first weeks of February 2022 invasion of Ukraine, and each side regularly accuses the other of attacks that endanger nuclear safety. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. 9 migrant workers from Assam killed in the arch collapse at the Chennai thermal power station. Prime Minister expresses grief, announces ex gratia. RBI Monetary Policy Committee to announce policy decisions today. And Mahanavami, the final day of Navratri, being celebrated today with utmost fervour and devotion.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Well, 9 migrant workers from Assam lost their lives and one sustained serious injuries when scaffolding collapsed at the Ennore Cess thermal power project site near Poneri on Tuesday. Also, the workers were building a concrete arch for the 1,320 megawatt Ennore CEZ thermal power station when the scaffolding erected over 20 feet high gave away. Fellow workers rushed to rescue the injured and shifted them to Government Stanley Hospital. Unfortunately, 9 succumbed to their injuries en route, while 1 remains under treatment. Kattur police have registered a case and initiated an investigation. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed grief over the incident and announced ex gratia. In a social media post, he said, and I quote, "Saddened by the mishap due to the collapse of a building in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, my thoughts are with the affected people and their families in this difficult hour, praying for the speedy recovery of the injured. An ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees from PMNRF would be given to the next of kin of each deceased. The injured would be given 50,000 rupees. And in Manipur, intelligence-driven joint operations conducted by the Indian Army and Assam Rifles under Spear Corps in coordination with police led to a significant counter-insurgency successes in the Hill and Valley district of Tengnupal, Imphal East and Chandel. The operations resulted in the apprehension of 4 active militant cadres and the recovery of 8 weapons, along with narcotics and other warlike materials. Security forces credited the success to precise intelligence inputs, meticulous planning, and close civil-military coordination, reinforcing stability and safety in the region. Also, the officials highlighted that continued vigilance and joint operations remain key to neutralizing threats and maintaining peace in Manipur's sensitive areas. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the centenary celebrations of the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh or RSS in New Delhi this morning. The centenary celebrations will highlight the legacy of the RSS, its cultural contributions and its role in the country's unity. On the occasion, the Prime Minister will release a specially designed commemorative postage stamp and coin highlighting the RSS's contribution to the nation. RSS is a unique people-nurtured movement for national reconstruction. Its rise has been seen as a response to centuries of foreign rule, with its continuing growth attributed to the emotional resonance of its vision of India's national glory, rooted in Dharma. And President Draupadi Murmu honored the presidential bodyguards, the president's household cavalry and personal troops with a silver trumpet and trumpet banner on Tuesday. The ceremony marked 75 glorious years since the unit was renamed. The event featured a mounted parade reviewed by the president herself. The presidential bodyguards presented a thrilling show jumping display showcasing their exceptional horse riding skills. Virat, the commander's charger who retired in 2022, was also honored by President Murmu on this landmark occasion. Now, Virat had previously been patted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Republic Day parade in 2022. RITES Limited, India's leading transport infrastructure consultancy and engineering firm, has signed a memorandum of understanding with Etihad Rail to strengthen business collaboration in the mobility sector across the UAE and international markets. Now, the agreement was formalized at the Global Rail Transport Infrastructure Exhibition and Conference in Abu Dhabi, running from September 30th to October 2nd. Also, the MOU was signed by Shadi Malak, CEO of Etihad Rail, and Rahul Mittal, Chairman and Managing Director of RITES Limited. Under this partnership, RITES will collaborate with National Infrastructure Construction Company, LLC, its subsidiary of Etihad Rail, to explore business opportunities in the region and beyond. Speaking at the event, Rahul Mittal highlighted the significance of the Indian Pavilion at the Global Rail Conference.
The pavilion showcases the strengths and experience of Indian Railways of more than 170 plus years and the varied experience of its CPSEs like DFC, IRCON and RITES. This partnership of sharing our experience with Etihad Rail would be a win-win situation as Etihad Rail grows. RITES also signed an MOU with Etihad Rail further augmenting our close partnership, taking it forward.
Well, on to some business news now. The Reserve Bank of India Monetary Policy Committee will announce today its decision post 2 days of meeting. The RBI paused cutting rates in its previous meeting in August after 3 consecutive cuts totaling 100 basis points. And the October meeting has become crucial as Trump's additional tariff of 25%, taking the total to 50%, came into effect on August 27th, just days after the August meeting. Now, the GST new rates also kicked in on September 22nd in a move to boost consumption and increase domestic manufacturing. And in sports, India kicked off the Women's World Cup campaign in an emphatic fashion, defeating Sri Lanka in a rain-curtailed opening encounter in Guwahati on Tuesday. Put into bat first, India lost early wickets but managed to put 269 runs on the board after the match was reduced to 47 overs due to rain. Now, the hosts lost 4 wickets for 4 runs in the space of 11 balls, including 3 in the 26th over, which saw them slip to 124 for 6. But Amanjeet Kaur and Deepti Sharma produced a match-winning partnership of 103 for the 7th wicket. That saw Sri Lanka's target revised to 271 from the same amount of overs. They made a promising start but halted by brilliant bowling performance by Deepti Sharma and Sneha Rana, which saw them bundled out for 211 runs. And India's star para-javelin thrower Sumit Antil added another golden chapter to his career at the ongoing 2025 World Para-Athletic Championship in New Delhi on Tuesday. Antil clinched the gold medal in the men's F-64 javelin throw with a record-breaking performance. Already the world record holder at 73.29 meters, Sumit threw 71.37 meter in his 5th attempt, a mark that not only sealed his 3rd world title but also eclipsed his own championship record of 70.83 meters, set in Paris in 2023. Now, India's Pardeep Kumar, also competing in the same event, finished 5th. And world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz clinched the Japan Open, bearing down Taylor Fritz in the final on Tuesday to win his 8th title of a spectacular year and further cement his status as a dominant force in the men's game. Now, victory also earned Alcaraz revenge for a stunning loss to Fritz at the Laver Cup team event in San Francisco this month. The 22-year-old had endured a scare after jarring his foot on his Tokyo debut last week, but was beaming as he celebrated his 67th match win this season and 24th tour level title overall. And moving on, today marks the Mahanavami, the 9th day of Navratri, celebrated with devotion across the country. Devotees offered prayers to Goddess Durga in her fierce form, seeking strength and protection, while special rituals and Kanya Pujan ceremonies are held in households and temples. On Mahanavami, devotees worship Ma Siddhatri, the 9th form of Goddess Durga. She is revered as the giver of supernatural powers and blessings, seated on a lotus and holding a mace, discus, conch and lotus in her 4 hands. It is believed that by worshipping Ma Siddhatri, one attains wisdom, strength and success as she fulfills all divine aspirations of her devotees. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took part in Durga Puja celebrations on Ashtami at Kalibari Temple at Durga Puja Pandal in CR Park, Delhi. He offered prayers to Goddess Durga and extended greetings for peace, prosperity and harmony. In Gorakhpur, a grand Ma Durga idol with 108 faces and 221 hands have been carved for Navratri, a tradition since 1998. The central face's eyes can open and close, attracting devotees from across UP and Bihar who flock to see and click pictures of this unique statue. Mudiali Club in Kolkata, West Bengal celebrates its 91st Durga Puja with the theme Atma Shuddhi or self-purification. The pandal, made of clay and terracotta, and the traditional Dakar style idol attract large crowds, offering a serene and spiritually enriching experience. In Asansol, the D block Durga Puja Pandal celebrates movies from movies, while Gandhinagar United Club's 51st Puja recreates Varanasi's ghats. The events feature cultural programs, charity initiatives and attract large crowds, managed with local support. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.